Welcome back, folks. Without further ado, we are getting into that second Outlast matchup of the day, and this means so much more now because this could be the fight to stay out of or get yourself into relegations. I got it right this time, not regulations, relegations. Tanner, let's start with Outlast. I think we're all feeling them now at this point. That was a good game.
Yeah, I don't think there's really much to say about the roster. You look back, you had Woos, Jewel, and Tra. They absolutely popped off last game. They're playing with a sub in replacement of Athena. They've got Ozone coming in, who's supposedly being their IGL. On the attack half, I would say they didn't look too hot last game, but the defensive half, they looked really clean, really together. I really like the coordination of the 2VX gameplay that we had coming out of them. And with that win that they just had, they are now tied for points with Aqualix, who also have a game later today. So this is a really big game. They win this game, they may have staved off relegation altogether, but they have to win. And that's the important part of this game.
It's so important and so exciting that I noticed even your pup came in to join to watch the matchup. So they're excited as well. Cookies, Aqualix, the pressure is on them now as well.
Yeah, and a lot like Outlast, Aqualix last week played a new map. They showed that they aren't just a Villa team. This Aqualix roster has played more Villa than I think every other team combined. It's actually, it's actually the opposite of biblical. Afer, I will say, Afer has been a huge bright spot for this team. He's been credulous. He's been reliable for them. And going back to last week's game, I think if they play a more disciplined style today, that'll be the form of Aqualix that we would like to see, because I honestly don't even want to talk about their previous form where they just kind of walk around and meander and graze. It's not hot. But when they played the new map last week and they played a new style, and I like
Tanner, I know that based on how the last match went, you were gonna have a different set of critical points. So I assume that these would be your winning critical points.
Yes, these are absolutely my winning critical points. I mean, it's do or die time. That's basically what it is for Aqualix. It's time to show up. It's time to put your best foot forward and to make sure that you're not leaving anything on the table. If you've got those one-off plays, if you've got a map you haven't, shown yet that you really are excited to show, now's the time to kind of bring it out. Now's the time for individual players to present themselves in a manner that is like competitive. They're not like slacking or anything behind. And then this last point, this is kind of was echoed last game, and I made these points before the game, but this point specifically, entry information is critical. And we saw that versus TTK. Their entry information was terrible. They were like trying to launch into site with 2 drones. They had guys holding angles forever because they didn't know what was being covered and what wasn't. So if they're going to come into this game, the only really big critique I have from last game, get that information to your entries so your entries can react, and you're not going to be surprised by guys like Afer, who've just been an absolute monster, especially in the defensive half in the entry category.
Man, if they can bring that attack up to where their defense was last game, they're going to be a formidable team. Aqualix, there's a lot to work on for them as well.
I don't know, and to echo off of your, I guess that's the right way of saying this, to ping pong off of your point, Forceful, the Trawoo's duo, you need guys, stop laughing. This is serious.
Sorry.
I know. You had it right though. Echo was the perfect word.
That is how echo works.
Ping pong. Yes, ping pong.
Yeah, let me go with the more childish example. But yeah, Tron Woosh, right? If you kill these guys' drones, right? If you're Aqualix, and I did a whole funny demonstration last week where I was like, you shoot the drone, you lean, you run away. You don't just like try to fight them and get folded like an omelet. You do that in your Aqualix, which they did successfully do against LSR for the most part. They didn't just stay and fight and eat picks away, which is what they love to do early on in the season. They popped drones, they ran away. I ranted about it, and they actually did it in the game. And it's okay to force Outlast to play for executes, because Outlast executes aren't that crazy. We saw that last game. So let them fumble over themselves. Don't give it to them. And you may stay out of relegations, Aqualix. But if you just walk up to Tron Woos and act like you own the place, you might have problems. And it might get a little messy, and that's what they don't want.
Now, both of you, I don't know, I'm sensing something here. Both of you have alluded to special maps possibly being there for these guys. So are we saying no Clubhouse, no Oregon? Well, there's the Oregon gone.
There's the Villa gun. That's even bigger. Like, that's a map that Aqualix has played, 5 times now?
Lost track like 100 times.
Very strong band coming out here from Outlast. And there's Oregon and Club. And this is what I'm actually confused. I think we're going to a map we haven't seen yet. Like, this is
We're
actually
in an
ridiculous.
alternate reality.
Yeah, there's Bank. I mean, Bank's has been a pretty big ban for both these teams. Cafe, Outlast does not look great on it at all. Theme Park, you know, I'm surprised that's coming out from Aqualix, but you know, they did play it last week. They did lose, and there's VOD footage on it, so that makes sense to ban it out, which I believe leaves us with Skyscraper and Border again. If I'm Outlast, I'm banning Border. Perfect. So you go to Skyscraper.
Ooh.
So there's no VOD footage on either of these teams, and that's not saying that these teams don't play these maps. So we've been harping on, I think, both of them for the very shallow map pool. Both teams being willing to go to this map means there's something hidden here that we haven't seen. So I actually don't know what to expect here. This is a map that's very drone intensive. It's a map that's very entry dependent, like making sure you can get into the map and establish yourself. This is going to be a very scrappy game, especially how we saw Border play it last game.
Cookies, so the predictions will come up here in a second. Does a map like this, almost in a weird way, we always talk about Oregon and Clubhouse being equalizers. Does this map, because of the lack of maybe experience or at least VOD readily available footage of these two teams, does this make it a bit of an equalizer in its own sense?
So, you know, if we're just talking about how we don't know what's going to happen, we don't know what's going to happen. That is exactly the case, Brim. It's going to equalize things because maybe on a Clubhouse Outlast, maybe take 1 or 2 rounds, you know, who knows? It wouldn't go in their favor. But if you take the battlefield right and you make it nasty and you make it dirty and you make it something neither team, it's going to be slippery and muddy today on Skyscraper. That favors an Outlast team that's maybe failed to find their footing on other maps. And same thing for Aqualix. You played Villa 6,000 times. Maybe you play a new map like they did last week in Park. Hey, you look a little bit more stable. You play a new map today in Skyscraper. That might have been what they needed all along. I ain't picking them to win though.
Now we might say great equalizer, but Tanner, a lot of us had our vote as Aqualix before that previous matchup. Now, after seeing what Outlast can do, seeing themselves, feeling themselves, this changes the story a bit going into this one.
Yeah, absolutely. I felt like this was a map or a game that it was going to be Aqualix's to lose. And after what Outlast showed last game, they showed this desperation, which I think they're going to need to pull out here. I think that's why you see probably one of the most divided prediction rates that we've ever had. I personally, I swapped from Aqualix to Outlast just based on the performance of last game. I think Outlast has come to play today. They're fresh. They just got a win. They're feeling pretty good. I think this is Outlast game.
Don't forget, this is the team that did beat Aerial Arise earlier on in the stage. Anything can happen between these two teams. You're not going to want to miss a moment. We are going to get right into it. We're going to Skyscraper for the most important match of the day between Outlast and Aqualix.
Like you said, Brim, this match could very well decide who goes to relegations, because if Outlast does not win this, then they're for sure down there. However, if Outlast wins, Aqualix then has to beat Aerial Arise, the current first place team, which doesn't seem all too likely.
Yeah, unfortunately, the Aerial Arise game happening off stream, so we're not going to get a chance to see the result of that. But this one is important, very important, as we've already talked about, for Outlast if they want to put themselves on top. This would be an incredible comeback from where they were just entering into this Playday, into Playday number 9, having to win both of these games, or at the bare minimum, getting at least 4 points between both of these games. But they are now in a position where if they win, they're almost 100% in. Unless something ridiculous happens with Aqualix and Aerial Arise, we can predict the result there pretty easily. This is the result that we cannot predict. The fact that we're going to Skyscraper makes this even more unpredictable. I could not be more excited to see exactly how this one shakes up.
And the cool thing about Skyscraper, too, is, like the analyst has highlighted, not only have these teams not played it thus far, but they're also very willing to go to this map. Not just because we're seeing it today, but because out of 11 games, or I guess 10 for Aqualix, 11 for Outlast, Outlast has only banned it 4 times. Aqualix has only banned it 3. So they have been very willing to bring this map out. They just haven't really had the ability to, because Skyscraper, brand new map, rather unpopular, as most new maps are. Loading into round number 1, we have Outlast starting on the attack. Now, the scary thing here for Aqualix is that, as we know, Outlast has never, ever been an attacking team. But if you give Outlast those 2 rounds they're looking for, just 2, then their defensive half becomes that much stronger.
We just saw it on Border, right? Outlast looked atrocious on the attacking side. They had one good round and one round where they just kind of won by the skin of their teeth. But with those 2 rounds, they then went to the defensive half with some confidence. They started to ramp it up, and all of a sudden, it was match point, and they closed it out 7-5, only giving 1 round away on the defensive side at all. So even though when you see teams on the attacking side, we do usually talk about the importance, it's their responsibility to get as many rounds as they can. On a map like this, between Aqualix and Outlast, it really is a case of Aqualix just making sure they minimize their mistakes. They should have a pretty easy time on the defense here, considering what we've already talked about, Outlast struggles on the attacking half in the past. Aqualix just need to maintain that composure, play their own game, and not get flustered by whatever Outlast throw at them. If they can do that, they can emerge from this half with that 4-2, that 5-1, that 6-0 split that they are looking for to put this one away as soon as they can.
Getting right into the game, it is a T defense first and foremost. That's the kind of one common thing that we've had from old Skyscraper to new, is that T is your primary bomb site. Of course, there is an extension slightly out, one in Geisha, one in the top of Mezzanine, kind of holding it by Shrine into Dragon. You even have this little nice angle Psychosis is currently watching into the stock area of things. Slimy Nick on the roam, all the way towards Exhibition or Museum, as some call it. The attackers are already in the building. They're right underneath the bomb site, walking into Kitchen, droning through, making sure there's no vertical holes that the that the defense can use down on them. Meantime, Gasher has that pulse scanner, not using it from below, as there's only 2 floors, but rather from above, just to aid his possible defenders peeking through that floor, getting them some extra info on where exactly the attack is coming from.
Well, that attack should, and it does appear that they do have a good idea that Aqualix are playing, somewhat extended. They've got somebody over in Geisha, that they've got somebody over on that house side of the map, all the way on that east side. But it just comes down to, are they going to elect to deal with those positions, or are they going to avoid them? Try to just work their way around it and send it directly towards the site. Right now, they're already pressuring the site itself by working in a couple of explosives from below. Tra has already used one of those grenades in an effort of maybe forcing a player off that Black Hall rotate, that black staircase. But right now, no damage has been dealt. Not a lot of progress has been made either, and the fact that we only have 60 seconds left marks yet another concerning start for Outlast. But as we've seen, a bad start doesn't mean a bad finish. They can still pull something out here if Aqualix give them the chances. But here comes the smokes, here comes that delay, and now is when Aqualix are going to tighten this defense up.
Now, it has been slow from Outlast, but they've not lost any bodies just yet. A big worry is Rice with these smoke canisters. He's going to be able to continuously delay the black stairs push that Tra is trying to walk up on. Now, they know that the corner is clear thanks to Blank's position, and now that they've droned out Rice, there is someone on the rappel as Rice eats some nade damage, but it's Tra with the first kill on Psychosis. Rice exposes himself to the Finka, but gets away. 12 seconds remaining. Actually, not get away, just tuck himself back in the corner. Shotgun out. He's got to try and deny the plant. Ozone is getting it down, but there's the window pressure. Tra cutting off Afer as well. It's a post plant for Outlast, and it's perfect. 3 kills for Tra, 2, I believe, for Ozone, or rather 1 and the plant, and that attack could not have gone better.
It was a flawless round for Outlast to kick off Skyscraper, defying a lot of expectations early on, and Aqualix, now they know what they just walked into. They're walking into an Outlast team that is on another level from what we've seen on the 8 play days prior. A team that finally knows how to attack, maybe. Just 1 round in, and I don't want to get ahead of myself there to jinx Outlast. But to start off with a flawless round, are you kidding me? What a way to begin. On a map that we don't see very often, Outlast showcasing that they understand this map pretty well, realizing that even though there were a couple of those extended defenders, like I talked about, they had no need to force themselves into that clear. They never bothered actually clearing Geisha. They never bothered actually clearing the other side of the map. They went about as direct to the site as you could possibly go, taking the bare minimum of control down below in kitchen and dining, working their way through, going up those black stairs into the black hall, using that rappel on the window, and starting to just get that bomb down. That right there is how they managed to avoid that Aqualix defense, and Aqualix, as we just showed, as we were just privy to, did not know what was coming and just could not stop it.
Great use of the rappel, especially because Rice had used his gas canisters so early on, denying the stairs. He was completely trapped, unable to deny the plant. I love that play from Outlast. I mean, if there's any way to start out this game, it's like that. You couldn't have asked for better from Outlast. Yeah, it was a little concerning that time was running so low, but the execute itself, there was almost not a single fault with it. Now, Aqualix are defending bedroom. They'll go to the first floor on the other side of the map and are once again very extended. Afer and Slimy Nick on the roam upstairs, challenging Outlast as they try and get in the building. There's one on Shrine. I believe that's Afer trying to watch the window, but he doesn't even need to. He'll fell Tra. A quick refrag from Wooz, though, onto Afer. Actually, Slimy Nick on that Malusi looking for another. He'll walk into Blank, but despite Blank cooking a nade, he'll still get the kill. Outlast end up a man after that initial roam clear.
Starting off and looking good again in round 2. Only one body up, though, and this could easily slip away if they do not play coordinated. In round 1, that coordination was on full display. But if you think back just about 20 minutes ago to Border, coordination, that word couldn't even be seen close to the Outlast attacking descriptions. Right now, they're going to have to showcase that as much as they can, though. They are going to try to open up this office wall, but that's not going to happen easily, as there is still a mute jammer in play. Thanks to the Thatcher being unbanned, though, those X-Kairos pellets can now go off. Unfortunately, though, for Wooz, he will fall thanks to a nicely timed swing from Gasher, who finds his first kill. Psychosis, now feeling the pressure, will be forced to use all of his smokes. Now, even with full 60 seconds left, Outlast, they can take their time here. They do not have to rush into these smokes. They've got a couple of options as to how they want to approach this.
Gasher's also fallen off the top floor. He's gone on the roam, and they have hard pings. He'll fall back, though, likely aware of the info on his position, considering there were footsteps right at the top of his staircase. And he'll actually lose a teammate, make it both! Jewel just walks in through the VIP wall and takes out both roamers upstairs. Now Gasher is stuck alone in a 1 versus 3 as his entire team has crumbled around him. Will land a nice one onto Blank, but the plant is going down and Gasher can do nothing about it. At least not yet. He'll forfeit that, and Jewel gets a third. Outlast with a second round.
Aqualix, they walked into Skyscraper, but it appears that they may have been a little unprepared, at least for the Outlast attacks that we're seeing. And I cannot believe, Harrison, that this is the storyline through 2 rounds, that Outlast attacks are overwhelming Aqualix. But you look at the stats, you look at the round count, and there's really no other conclusion you can draw other than that. Round 1, flawless. Round 2, still strong. Jewel lining up a 3K. Outlast held a man advantage for quite some time. Jewel found a gap and was able to exploit that. It's almost as if Outlast are a completely different team. This is what they need to continue if they want to continue. If they want to, continue to have this success, this is how they continue to play. I mean, look at where we're going now. Aqualix, they are continuing to just change up the bomb sites, clearly not feeling confident in any one of their setups to go to it again. They're just going to keep trying to find some place that works, any objective that can slow Outlast down.
I mean, 2 rounds on their attack already, and we saw how good they are on defense. I'm like, I know it's only been 2 rounds, and it's super early. It's too early to call anything, but I'm already just getting a little bit worried for Aqualix. The fact that Outlast have been consistent in their attacks through these first 2 rounds, something has got to change, and something has got to change fast. The only map that they've done better on attack on is Villa, where they won 3. in regulation. That's their best attacking showing all season, if I'm correct. Even on Chalet against Aerial, they only won 2. They went 2-4 attack on Chalet. So seeing this kind of play from Outlast on Skyscraper, I mean, you said it. It is a completely different team. They look better than they've ever had on attack, at least, again, with that asterisk, at least through these first 2 rounds. Their main target right now is hunting down Afer, who's playing in Geisha. Unfortunately for him, against an Outlast team that's playing has played very together so far, he's all alone.
And there it is. Right on cue. Blank will take him down. That's good coverage. A C4 is just not on the mark because Outlast, they were patient enough, knowing that they shouldn't jump in without droning it out a little bit further. So that's 1 body lost, a big one at that, Afer. That's 1 C4 lost in the hands of Psychosis that is no more. And on a site that could heavily depend on Aqualix's ability to deny that plant with those nitro cells, they only have 1 remaining in the hands of Gasher. Of course, you've got the 2 impacts in Nick's pocket, but that's not going to do a great job to actually deny the plant. It could deny some utility in terms of those X-Kairos pellets, but that's just about it. Right now, Outlast, after this good start, they're just going to continue to work their way in across that west side. They've got firm top floor control. They've even got some drones down below to spot out any one of these pesky roamers. Psychosis, having been droned out, will now have to relocate and move closer to the objective.
Once again, Outlast have started to slow down. It's not necessarily the end of the world as we've seen, but still, you want as much time as possible when going for this execute. And Aqualix know they just have to burn it. Unfortunately there for Ozone, he'll send out his X-Kairos a little too early. They'll get easily destroyed by the bandit batteries, but the second go around will be successful. Tra will take a lot of damage from that MP5 Psychosis has in hand, and that Mute is able to fall back. There's another MP5 on those main house stairs as well, as Tra earns a little HP back from his Finka. More bandit batteries go out, denying this main breach, at least most of it. There's still a small hole being opened for a crossfire into the bomb site, as Outlast now only have 20 seconds remaining. Nade goes out, will miss, but Jewel does not. Slimy Nick is the next to fall on those house stairs, and in comes the attack. They're aware of the bandit, though Gasher will get 1 kill. 10 seconds left. Outlast has got to get a move on. There's Woos with another try. Another kill. Woos will team kill, but it looks like it's spiraling out of control. The diffuser was dropped, but Jewel steps up big once again to give Outlast their 3rd straight point.
A clutch kill just in the nick of time. I mean, that timer was as close to 000 as we're ever gonna get without a bomb plant even being attempted. Outlast did struggle to get into the site when it came down to it, thanks to some good play from Gasher, a combination of the bandit tricking and just, well, some good old-fashioned gunfights, swinging with the MP7 on to that terrace door. But at the end of the day, he could not survive 5 more seconds. He could not survive the 5 more seconds that would have been needed to stop that Outlast attack for good. There was a nice nade placed at his feet. He decided to just swing and take the gunfight, and he was eventually dealt with. That left 1 or 2 Aqualix defenders still in the mix, and Outlast was able to find those kills. Well done again. That one was probably the closest round yet in terms of Outlast almost losing it, but they have come out of the gates swinging. They have 3 attacking rounds in a row, and personally, that is 1 more attacking round than I thought they would get realistically this entire half. And right now, they've gone flawless 3 in a row. If they can just get a couple of more here, even a single round more, Aqualix are just heavily on the back foot, and they'll be fighting a tremendously uphill battle from this point forward.
Outlast look incredible. Jewel and Ozone have yet to die. Ozone has been playing an amazing support so far, a marked improvement from what we saw on Border, even though they won that map. Ozone looking much more comfortable, and Jewel has been a player, I've talked to a lot of people, Jewel has been a player who has come under some very heavy criticism for being a little lackluster, but so far, through these last couple days, or well, these last couple play days, he has proven that he belongs in Challenger League, being, you know, the star player against Karn & Co., being incredible just last map on Border, and now being 5-0, top fragging his team without a death. I think Jewel has kind of done away with all doubt cast his side.
Yeah, no deaths, like you said. Looking very clean right now. Hoping to further that, of course, as he enters into round number 4. One difference, though, for Outlast is they haven't been able to find that opening kill yet. Aqualix have not provided those opportunities for them. And we're not seeing the same defense as we saw last time either. On this reset of around here, kind of this midpoint in the half, Aqualix not choosing to go to tea room and karaoke, choosing to go downstairs, well, to kitchen and dining instead. Outlast, they've probably realized this, and they've realized that in order to take this control, they've probably got to clear out the top floor anyway. But the decision here from Outlast, and why I like it so much, is that they're playing right into Outlast's weaknesses, the timing of these attacks. If they can delay this attack just another 20 seconds before it seizes control of the top floor, Aqualix will not only have to still clear out these defenders up above, but they still have to transition down below, and they have only 60 seconds left on this round completely, not just to get an execute done. They haven't even entered the top floor practically. You have someone on the house side, you've got someone in drum, but there is still so much more work to be done in so little time.
So, in terms of time and positioning, Aqualix looking pretty good. Of course, they still have to kill all the attackers, but that C4 is a great way to do it. Rice will get a 2K for Psychosis in Geisha, and, well, with that, the entire round may have just been shut down, thanks to the efforts, largely, of Psychosis. Now it's left all up to Blank and Woos, who have been having a decent game thus far. Blank will jump in to the lounge, but for someone just around the corner, Slimy Nick will take his head off, and Woos simply does not have time to get anything going, and Aether will shut him down. A flawless round from Aqualix to respond and end the streak.
It did take them 4 rounds to do it, but they finally found an objective that they could defend successfully. I'm very glad we see them finally on the scoreboard, and that should have been a pretty clear learning experience as to why Outlast struggle on the attack so much. When you make them fight through an extension, it takes them forever. They made almost no progress in that round through 2 minutes. When they finally decided to step up around that 45-second mark left in the round, I mean, they got torn apart, torn to pieces. Even had they won that fight in Geisha, had they taken down Psychosis and begun pressuring the site below, it would have still been an uphill battle, because they still would have only had about 30 seconds, and they still wouldn't have even started pressuring the actual objective yet. So that right there is how Aqualix can win rounds. They've got to try to employ that strategy as many times as they can. Of course, they've only got 2 more rounds to do it, but if they can try that time waste strategy in rounds 5 and round 6, this one could be tied up before you know it.
Bedroom was, close-ish. It was a 2v1 in the favor of Outlast, and really was only one because Jewel was able to make a play in VIP. Before that, Outlast were decently stalled out. So if Aqualix can do it again and just make sure Jewel can't run in, perhaps it's a different round. But Aqualix are once again playing with that extension horizontally over towards the Dragon and Shrine side of things, which is where Outlast are going to be turning their attention first and foremost. Of course, you still have Jewel on the office side of things, perhaps probably just watching a window for a cutoff. Woos is following very closely behind that Iana hologram. We got some info on, I think that was Nick, but he and Aether will very quickly fall back, not wanting to challenge as hard as they did in that previous attempt.
You can see that Outlast are trying to speed things along with some coordination and some drone work at the helm of this clear. Still 60 seconds have already transpired, and we haven't really seen them identify any position of these defenders. Tra will be the first one to actually start swinging on Dragon and looking towards that VIP wall, and seeing if he can spot out any of these defenders, and there are a couple upstairs, but nobody who's actually challenging actively. You've got 2 players in Exhibition, 1 in Office, I believe, all playing passively, all waiting for Outlast to make the first move. One of those is Afer. He's got those bear traps set up on the site below, maybe a couple up top to support this extension, and of course, he's got the support of what appears to be Psychosis, positioned in Exhibition as well. Rice is downstairs with a C4 and some potential soft destruction to work with, but Gasher is actually the first player to fall. Psychosis, naturally the next player to fall because he is challenging those attackers head on, but out of nowhere, Outlast take fights and they start to win them. C4 goes up, downing Tra and slowing down the breaching hammer from the sledge, but again, Finka is in the lobby, so Woos will pick him right back up.
The nade will just narrowly miss as Nick makes a very well-timed rotate. Blank now on the drone, spots him and pops up for the headshot. And now it's Afer and Rice. Make that just Rice in a 1 versus 5. Another nade from Blank. This guy's just a knower. What? What? Another flawless round from Outlast. A 4-1 lead for one of the worst attacking teams in the entire league. I think this is actually a new record for them on their attacking side.
What a way to play, and when you needed it the most, too. I mean, if there was any week for Outlast to show up, I mean, it's today. It's Playday number 9. They've got relegations to fight off, right? I mean, it is unbelievable, the Outlast that we're seeing right now. That round especially, another flawless round. They have delivered 2 flawless rounds out of their 4 wins. 2 of them have been flawless. One of them wasn't all that close, and the other one, a nail-biter. Aqualix, they were able to take a flawless round as well, so let's not forget that. But Outlast have looked dominant for the most part. We're heading to a site where Outlast had a flawless win. We're heading right back to Tea and Karaoke, the site of our very first defensive round as this match kicked off. This is where Outlast looked most dominant. Aqualix, I suppose, are hoping that they can make some changes in order to, well, shake up the result.
5 seconds to insertion.
You know what's really scary? If Outlast can't get anything going, let's just say hypothetically, or sorry, Aqualix. Let's just say hypothetically Outlast wins this 7-1, right? Because Aqualix just haven't looked good on Skyscraper. That puts Aqualix's round differential at -13 and Aqualix's round differential as -7. They switch. That means Aqualix would need to beat Aerial Arise in regulation in a score of 7-1 or more. That is terrifying. But it is very unlikely that Outlast just win outright. You know, there's still 3 rounds to go. Aqualix still have a chance. Blank now on the Nook as well. Interesting operator. Not quite sure why she's being brought. Maybe for, you know, a sneaky play up one of those staircases, though. I'm very excited to see where he goes with that.
But it is especially puzzling because when Blank was on the Yana for the majority of this half and for their last attack on this site, that's what's aided in a lot of their success, but part of that can be attributed to the nades that the Yana brings, not necessarily that hologram and the gun. So Blank hoping that he can bring those nades on a different op and he can be equally as effective in a different pair of shoes. Now, Woos using those grenades early and finding nothing with it is not a great sign. I mean, just think last round how effective Outlast were with those nades. Now they only have 3 grenades remaining as a whole in order to really make that explosive impact that they were hoping for. Jewel bringing a Claymore, right? You've got the power of those EMP grenades and the potential to stop a couple of runouts, but hasn't even bothered to place that Claymore down yet. Right now, they're busy just focusing on opening up some angles. It's Woos opening up this window, trying to force Aqualix to use these smokes. And now that you can see that yellow smoke dissipating over the black staircase, you know that, well, that's happened successfully, and right on cue as well. Tra with a beautiful nade to take down Rice. Opening kill goes Outlast's way.
The one thing stopping Outlast from ascending that staircase, now dead. Afer gets another, but Tra quickly refrags. It's 2 for the sledge as he falls to Gasher. Now a 2 versus 3, 1 versus 3 as Ozone dies to the Razor Bloom. It looked like Outlast had another great attack, but Gasher almost single-handedly shut it down. Now it's just Wooz in a 1 versus 3. He'll shoot Slimy Nick in the back, and he also has pings on Afer in the back of Karaoke. Wooz just needs to isolate these fights. Gasher is holding a long angle from the top of the main staircase, and now Wooz knows as that shot rings out. He's got 2 angles to watch. He'll try and take the one against Afer. He'll win it. He's got to try and get Gasher. He'll run away down the staircase, but the LMG is not enough. 4 kills from the IGL of Aqualix to save the round.
And to save the half and potentially their chances in this entire map. Of course, they only have 2, and they are still at a 2-round deficit. But if you go down 5-1 on a map that maybe you're not as comfortable on, things can get very scary, and they can get scary very quickly. Good for Aqualix that they're able to hang in there, I mean, just by the skin of their teeth, but hang in there nonetheless. The gap, instead of being 3 rounds, or rather 4 rounds, is only 2 rounds. That's the difference that a single win can make. And that's exactly what Aqualix are going to have to leverage as best they can as they transition into that attacking half. It's very possible that our version of Skyscraper tonight is just attacker-sided, and Aqualix are going to find similar success like Outlast did, but it's also possible that Outlast are able to hang on. We saw how terrifying they were on the defensive side of Border. If they can replicate even a little bit of that success, they shouldn't have too much trouble getting close to match point before Aqualix can respond.
Outlast on defense is a scary thing. Aqualix, again, with the weird picks before the repick. It's been an entire stage, and I still don't know why they do that. They'll be attacking onto Barbecue, a site that is currently vacant. I mean, it's a site that you can hold almost completely from the top floor thanks to a lot of those vertical angles, which Outlast are opening plenty of. Wooz looks like will be the man holding in Geisha. Very important spot for this site considering that hatch placement, and again, how much verticality you have both in kitchen as well as into that stock doorway. But Aqualix are starting their clear on the other side of the map. They want to do a full take, though starting downstairs rather than upstairs is a bit odd. Maybe once they clear down here, they'll transition, but I don't know. It's not something I've seen yet on Skyscraper, I don't think. Never mind. He's climbing up the stairs.
Yeah, he's getting back up to the rest of the team, as is, I guess, the rest of Outlast. We don't see a dramatic extension from this defense, but at least a moment ago, we did have 2 defenders downstairs. I believe just 1 at this point. You can see 4 blue outlines up above while trying to actually hold the extension, because we're actually not up above. We are actually down below. The site is kitchen and dining, but the majority of the defense still resides on that top floor in an effort to slow Aqualix down as much as they can. Aqualix now reaching the midpoint of that top floor as well. They can make a decision. Do they go for the clear or do they go direct? Psychosis, he opts for the latter. He will challenge directly into Ozone, who takes a fight at the shotgun, a little bit too long range for him, so he will fall early. The only player on the site, actually, at least until a moment ago, has been felled. That will cue in Outlast that it's about time they send somebody back downstairs, so Blank will now be charged with single-handedly holding down the first floor.
Ozone clearly not expecting Psycho to be pushed up that far, even though Aqualix's clear started from bedroom, and there's really not a lot of difference between bedroom and bathroom and stock. It's kind of a straight line. I mean, hell, the vent door is right outside. Well, right outside shipping, but, you know, shipping connects to stock, so it's pretty close. Outlast now trail a man, 50 seconds remaining, and they've still got a lot of presence upstairs. The question is, how much will that matter? Do they have the proper angle set up to deny the execute from above? Well, Jewel will come back downstairs. Presence in lounge now for the defense as he finishes off Psychosis. Rice walks in. Woos does not expect him to be close, but Tra refrags over in Dragon. Still, we remain even, but as I say that, Afer gets 1 kill. The Finka looking for another on the Jewel. He'll gas himself off, but Afer will hold this angle and spot him before Jewel can spot the attacker. It's just Tra. Nice kill on the Ash, but the plant goes down from Gasher, and it's a 2 versus 1 with Rice upstairs. Not a whole lot for Tra to do here. Even if he kills Gasher, he still has to deal with the ace holding vertically, and that is a tough fight to take. Gasher will peek out, deal some damage to the alibi, force Tra to back off a bit, and now catch the Finka sprinting into him. All that's left is Rice, but again, he's got that hash presence. Tra's gonna have to try and bait this out. He'll try and stick, and Rice simply shoots him from above. He was so low HP that that fight was almost unwinnable, and Aqualix will take their first attack.
Really nice transition there for Aqualix just onto that first floor. They didn't apply an overwhelming amount of pressure up above to T and Karaoke, what we may see next from Outlast on this defense, but choosing to apply a little bit of both, right? Horizontal pressure as well as top floor pressure. So they did try to make sure those Outlast defenders on that top floor felt like they should still staff that position, but they also made them worry about the site below at the same time. We had to see how one by one Outlast defenders started to dip back downstairs because the horizontal pressure just became overwhelming at a point. And even though there was one player, right, it started out just Ozone, then it was just Blank, then Jewel joined that fight. It all just added up, and at 1 by 1 by 1, Aqualix was able to identify the position of those defenders and collect those kills. Also, some good trade game as well. Almost every time Aqualix got a kill, Outlast would answer with a kill of their own, but Aqualix made sure to answer right back. That's what they need to do. That is exactly how they can continue to take rounds here. So far, at least one round goes their way.
That's really what they need. The more points they get in this match, even if they lose, the less wide of a margin they have to beat Aerial Arise by. Of course, beating Aerial Arise is still a tall task. You know, Aqualix would like to win, but still, every round they get matters. It's not just a win here. Now, Outlast will go to T. They'll transition to the site just above the one they defended previously. With a very similar, actually, the same operator lineup, if I'm not mistaken. They've got an extension, of course, into Dragon, just as we saw Aqualix do. It's a very standard way to try and defend this bomb site. But no one on a Slimy Nick-esque roam. No one extended all the way towards the office side of things. It is simply Drum, Dragon, and everything westward.
Outlast holding patiently, trying to maybe surprise Aqualix as they work their way in. But the big difference is that on this top floor site, Aqualix appear to be just going, you know, just straight up horizontal. There's nobody working their way in down below. Not going to use the nades in the hand of Nick or in that Afer's pocket to apply any vertical pressure. It is all committing to one position. Outlast, in a moment, they'll likely to identify that, and actually, they should be able to leverage some of that vertical play for their own good. Look at this. You've got some soft destruction actually prepped on that, you know, drum to terrace door. You could have somebody down below trying to hold those angles to assist the players that are on that top floor in that endeavor. You've also got these deployable shields to assist that position as well, one of which has already been dealt with. A well-timed shot with the Gone 6 will deal with the shield up in Shrine and will allow Afer to now start to actually peek towards T Room itself. Not advancing on the site just yet, but now with these angles established, you can see Outlast are starting to scramble.
They haven't even made it past one of those extending players. A shotgun holding point blank on that drum doorway, seemingly putting a complete halt to Aqualix's attack. I just heard some breach go off, I believe towards Geisha. There is a player right outside that window. Gas grenades are coming out from Ozone. The man holding onto this doorway with Blank now rotating in on the prone, helping him hold this doorway perhaps for a trade. More gas canisters come out from Ozone as the attackers start to move in across the mezzanine. They'll start to focus their attention towards this Jaeger. A lot of missed shots, but Blank finally gets it onto Gasher, denying the rest of that hard breach so they can no longer open the T-wall. Jewel finds another onto Rice, a man advantage now for Outlast. Shotgun close, can't find its mark against Slimy Nick, though. Somehow the Iana outduels the Mossberg, and now we're back in a 3 versus 3, but Woos will quickly amend that. 2 for Woos now. Psychosis alone in a 1 versus 3. He'll get Jewel and Geisha, but no one else from Aqualix is exposing, not until Woos peeks out for his 3rd kill, and Outlast take their 5th point.
Well played there from Outlast again, really holding mezzanine very well. I mean, I've got to say, it is an aggressive position to hold for that long. I mean, holding it early is fine. You shoot out a couple of drones, then you fall back. But Outlast electing to hold that pretty much the entire time, never giving up that position, choosing to die there rather than to back off and play on the site. Normally, that would be considered bold, even too bold at a point. But Aqualix, they kind of had some trouble clearing that out. They worked their way around from the shrine side, were nervous to push in that drum door. That slowed them down considerably. The players who actually had to enter into mezzanine, that had to work their way all the way down mezzanine and take that fight against the smoke, that took time. That cost several players on Aqualix a lot of HP. And when it came down to it, it was a 1v3 scenario with about only 7 seconds left on the clock. So it tells you excuse me, it tells you how effective those kills were, that time delay was, at really just slowly dismantling that Aqualix attack. So it's a good response from Outlast after, a troubling start to their defensive half. That's exactly how you want to bounce back.
Now we move on to Office. So every single site, it's surprising, every single site has been played so far. We have all 4 from Aqualix, 3 out of 4 from Outlast. Maybe they'll give us a treat and go downstairs to bedroom after this round, but we'll have to see how they hold on to Office and Exhibition. And as always, like the previous round, you're going to extend into these kind of transitionary areas on the top floor. A shield in Dragons, supplemented by those ADSs, of course. A Cade being brought from Outlast, something that Aqualix had missed in a couple of their defenses. Well, not missed, but they just didn't bring in a couple of their defenses. But downstairs is Woos, hugging tight to the barricade. He peeks out and domes Afer. Sure, Psycho gets the trade, but a Rooney for Finka, that is huge for the defense.
Great way to start. Fantastic way to start for Woos. The only troubling aspect of this is the fact that Woos was considerably very clutch in that last round and has been a key factor in these Outlast defensive holds, but at the end of the day, that is a job well done. You remove the Finka, those nades, those Finka boosts. That is incredibly detrimental to Outlast going forward. They can do it still, no doubt. It is a 4v4, and losing just one crucial body isn't the end of the world, but it will slow things down. And on Skyscraper, this map just the sheer vastness of this map, how big it is, you gotta be efficient. You gotta keep moving, and losing the Finka, slowing things down, making these attackers maybe a little bit more nervous about taking some gunfights, definitely won't help things along in terms of that speed. But thankfully, this site and the approach that Aqualix are taking doesn't look like they're going for that slow approach. They've already got this wall opened after all, and theoretically could execute whenever they felt like they're prepared.
I think that Ace, the right side Ace, the first breach, actually destroyed the Electro Claw because it was too close to it. So unfortunately for Jewel, he won't be able to lock the breach from opening a full avenue. Aqualix do have enough room here to move through the wall completely. There's an elevated angle, though, being held onto that breach. Jewel will peek out momentarily and eat a lot of damage. It's actually Ozone holding here with the SMG-11, not only trying to cover breach, but split as well. 50 seconds left for Aqualix to execute on the site. Is still a player from Outlast over towards Dragon. Hopefully he'll come back to the site soon as Blank goes on the hunt for this buck, but Psychosis knows exactly where he is. That is easy cleanup for Psychosis onto the roamer. Man advantage now for Aqualix. Jewel, the next to hit the floor. It's all left to Ozone and Tra. Tra needs to get back to the site now. As the Iana clone gets shot, they have info on Ozone. He has a C4 in pocket, but is not in quite a safe place to use it. Tra will catch Psychosis sprinting up. Slimeynick is the next to die, I believe, over towards Split. And Rice now has to go on the hunt. The shotgun close does not work. Rice will pre-fire him down, and Gasher has room to go for the plant. Flash will delay Tra even longer, and this Alibi will have to forfeit this plant and take this post, but he can't win it against Rice. Aqualix take round number 9.
Yeah, Ozone has now played several close angles with a shotgun and has lost those fights, I think, on 3 separate occasions. So whatever the case may be, Ozone needs to just start worrying about different angles, maybe start backing off and playing something else, because whatever it is, reaction time, just Peeker's advantage, he's losing those fights, and it's got to change. There's also been a lot of intel on his positions, typically, because he is holding the same position from the start to the finish of the round. We saw how Ozone was not only droned out, spotted from that main office breach, but also that Exhibition jump in. We saw the Gemini clone from the Yana also spot that position out. So it was an easy pre-fire for the Nomad, and even though Tra made quite an effort there in the end, he could not actually complete the retake, had to work his way through VIP in order to sneak into Exhibition or try to work his way into Office, and that was not something that the Nomad was about to let him do. So Aqualix, they'll keep us going back and forth. They started out with a win, Outlast bounced back, Aqualix take another, they're still within 1.
Aqualix have just reached the necessary amount of points to actually tie Outlast in the round differential. So no matter what happens now, Outlast will not be ahead of them. So Aqualix need to beat Aerial Rise by any margin. Now, it just has to be a win. As long as, actually, as long as they... No, yeah. It would have to be a regulation win for Aqualix to get out of relegation should Outlast take this game. But Outlast, instead of treating us to bedroom and playing all 4 sites like Aqualix did, they will retry Barbecue, a site that did not work out for them last time.
A site that worked out very well for the Aqualix defense, a site that Outlast were unable to capitalize on as best they could, in a large part thanks to Aqualix and their strategy of not clearing out the entire top floor. Kind of going a little bit 50-50, applying some horizontal pressure and just applying pressure to Geisha, not worrying about T or Karaoke the whole 9 yards, right? They just focused on the key positions that they needed to secure.
Oh, no.
Aether will win that gunfight against Blank, which is mind-boggling because Blank was initially unnoticed and should have had the advantage, but now that's 2 rounds in a row where Blank has put himself in a tough spot to escape from and has died because of it. Last round, it was to Psychosis on the buck down below. This time, it's just to a heads-up gunfight with Aether.
Not even a single bullet landing on that Ash either. It was quite a whiff from Blank's side of things. Luckily, there are still players upstairs, and now Ozone won't be caught off guard by Psychosis as he's gone the barbed wire away. Aether, though, gets a second kill on Jewel. The smoke now hitting the floor. That is grim tidings for Outlast. Woos will finally clap back. Rice is on the floor. No control of Geisha just yet for this attack. Ozone also still needs to be wary of Psychosis, the attacker trying to clear in through stock. There is a C4 in the hands of this mute. Psychosis starts to walk in. The drone's still there. Ozone has got to be gun up. The shotgun has not been good for him so far, and it will continue to lose him gunfights. Psychosis now control of almost the entirety of the bottom floor as Aether gets his 3rd, leaving Tra alone in a 1v4. He gets 1. Down goes the Ash. But the plant is being completed by Gasher. He'll fall off of it as he now knows that the Alibi is upstairs and repeaks Tra. I don't know why he didn't just continue to escape, but Tra has no info on Slimeynick, and thus the Nomad will kill him as he sprints into the hallway, and what was a substantial lead for Outlast has now crumbled into an even scoreline.
Yeah, the problem now we're seeing from Outlast is they're trying to employ the same defensive strategies on repeat, essentially. A good old copy-paste between between every single round, and it's just not working. It worked once. It's not going to work again unless they actually change something up. This was the biggest frustration with Order as a whole, right? With both teams, both Outlast and TTK, they both did the same thing almost every single time with very little, maybe minute changes. Outlast, they've got a little problem right now where they're falling into the similar rut. They need to make a change. They gotta get Ozone off the shotgun and off of these close angles that he keeps dying to. He's 0 for 4 on close fights with the shotgun. That's not acceptable. You've got Blank, who keeps putting himself in a corner, trying to be like, oh, surprise, I'm gonna kill you from here. He's died to that now 2 rounds in a row. They need to stop doing this because Aqualix have read into this problem that they were initially having, and they have found a solution for it.
Tough for Outlast. The defensive prowess that we always talk about has not shown up just yet. This is a very attacker-sided Skyscraper, which is typically what we expect of the map. And we are back on T. Now, this was the site that Outlast have won. It's the only site they've won on their defensive half so far, but it was down to a 3K from Woos at the end, with a very good drum hold preceding it. If Aqualix are ready for that position, though, if they're ready for Blank to aggressively swing that T-wall, if they're ready for the close angle again being held by the smoke, Outlast don't catch them off guard nearly as well, who knows? Again, Outlast seem to be doing the same thing. And I'm afraid Aqualix are going to be more than ready for it and take that match point away. Reminder, ladies and gentlemen, it doesn't matter if this match goes to OT. All that matters is the win.
Well, the win that looked like it was close around the corner now may potentially be evading Outlast here if they cannot find some momentum again. Tra will get spotted out and shot in the back of the head. Blank was forced back, and he was unable to inform his teammate that there were people pushing in. Tra wasn't looking the right way, so he'll fall as a result. Maybe he was able to whip around and get 1 bullet onto Afer, but now he's forced to fall back. Jewel forced to fall back as well, right into the waiting arms of Aqualix. He's able to land a bullet, but then eventually finished off by Gasher. This bottom floor extension, I guess you could say, it's just been dismantled by Aqualix. No other better word for it. Now, using that vertical control, Afer will whip out a frag grenade and send Ozone sky high. Woos follows soon after thanks to Slimy Nick and his LMG, and Blank is wiped from the face of the earth like the entire Outlast defense was just vanquished as well. That is a brutal, flawless round for Aqualix, and Outlast now stare down match point.
So close to the comeback season of the century for Outlast, but might be slipping from their grasp. Aqualix looking fearsome in that previous round and not giving Outlast anything. I mean, not only did Aqualix, find all the kills they needed, they were very fast into the building. Outlast had some very weird positioning. Tra was just kind of rotating in the middle of the bars. Jewel was falling back into kitchen and was kind of forced to engage both sides because Blank had to rotate upstairs. Once Blank was forced to rotate upstairs, the rest of your roam on the bottom floor becomes very exposed. There are so many angles and doorways that the defense has to worry about that you really need all that presence down there. So forcing Blank back for Aqualix really opened up that roam clear for them. Move on to Office. Again, a site that Outlast were not able to take. This is where it starts to get worrisome. If they couldn't win T, the only site that they've won this half, then what does that mean for the rest of the sites?
Yeah, that doesn't sound great if you're Outlast or a fan of Outlast. Unable to win the only bomb site that they successfully defended on their first rotation. So now they're going to give Exhibition and Office another try. This one, of course, the first time they tried it, didn't go their way. Aqualix were pretty efficient with their direct take, and in part, Tra maybe overextended for a little bit too long. By the time that he rotated back to the site, Rice was covering his angle and was not about to let him walk in to deny the plant. Outlast need to try to find some kind of variation here, find some early success, and there it is. Woos will well-timed jump out will get him a kill onto Psychosis. A great start onto the sledge. That's 2 nades gone.
Truly unfortunate for Psychosis, completely blindsided. That's not really something that you can fight against if the drones have not been extended that far. So Woos will get away. Instead of being traded out, he'll get a free kill. Tross sees that, you know, again, Aqualix are going for a bottom floor east overtake. I guess east and south overtake, technically. And he'll rotate his shield, knowing that no one's really going to be pushing Dragon anytime soon. Unfortunately for Jewel, he will not be able to get his Electro Claws off once again. Aqualix have been very efficient about getting that breach open, and now they can turn their attention to below. Afer, he's still got those nades in his pocket. He could get some freebies through the floor.
Only 2 freebies, though. Again, losing Psychosis early isn't ideal because that explosive potential now has been limited pretty severely. But, like you said, Harrison, Aqualix, they have the added benefit that the site is already opened up, so they can prevent any rotations through Office, and there's always that impending threat of an execute. You will have Outlast prepared for that, right? You've got Jewel holding this same position we saw him in last time. You've got Ozone also in a similar position, alternating between the close corner and finding that elevation towards the breach in an effort to deny this execute when it does come through. But Aqualix, with about 45 seconds left, they've kind of stalled out here, waiting for that. That is exactly what they needed. Afer getting that kill onto Ozone. That's his last nade, but it is a critical kill, because now Rice only has to worry about Jewel on the close angle.
That's the player in the center of Museum, in that central power spot for the defense, but luckily Woos is there to get another kill. Blank fires back. The players through Split are the only attackers remaining, and one is shut down, dropping case in sight. Slimy Nick, the only man standing between Outlast and overtime. The only thing standing between Outlast and redemption in this match, and he's cut down by Woos. 3 kills for the Aruni. That is when we needed to see Woos step up, and he did. Overtime is in the cards, Jonah. Another chance for Outlast to win this game.
Our second overtime of the day. And this one, much more interesting than the last, because this one matters a heck of a lot more. It is Outlast trying to stave off relegation. It is Aqualix also in a similar position now. Both of these teams really needing this win. And they've got a couple of chances to do it, right? It is now Outlast on the defensive side. They made the mistake. Now the mistake you're noticing. They made the mistake of choosing the defensive side coming into OT, coming into this map, because they had no idea that we'd be looking at an attacker-sided Skyscraper. Outlast been struggling to find the defensive success. One round, of course, you just witnessed it on Exhibition and Office, so interesting we're not going back there. The other was here on Tea Room and Karaoke. It was a nail-biter, I will remind you of that. It came down to Woos getting a double kill in the end to really deny that eventual execute from Aqualix. The moral of the story here is that Outlast are really going back there. They're making the bold decision to try this site again, because last time we were here, it was actually a flawless round for Aqualix that was delivered.
I won't lie, this is scary for any and all Outlast fans. Having to start off on this side in overtime, but I mean, hey, it is the primary site. Outlast should be winning this one as long as they don't overextend themselves on the bottom floor like they did previously. There are 4 people upstairs. In fact, I think all 5 are up here, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it's just Blank at bottom black, ready to basically shoot drones and then default back to site. I like this from Outlast, not getting too aggressive, not giving Aqualix the 1v1s in the early round that they're searching for.
That's how Aqualix was so successful last time we were here, Harrison. As you highlighted, it was a clinical bottom floor clear that dismantled the Outlast defense that wasn't even on the objective. That was just 3 players sitting down below, one of whom was looking the wrong way, one of whom had a shotgun and just could not win that engagement, and the other, I think, who just could not win in that 2v1 situation. So it's now going to be about the site itself. This is how Outlast were able to win their first iteration of this site. They put so much focus into Mezzanine that it slowed down Aqualix considerably. Knowing that, I think Aqualix won't be focusing on that shrine, that drum side push. It does look like they are more inclined to go from the bottom, apply that pressure with those nades, and likely get on that karaoke rappel and look for something there.
Haven't made nearly as much headway below as we saw, but all right, never mind. Just as I say that, there is a nade at the feet of Blank, and he will be the first body to fall. Afer has turned the heat up on this attacking half. He has been incredible. Definitely through and through the standout performer for his team as soon as that side swapped. Ozone's got 2 gas canisters left, and there's a whole minute remaining for Aqualix to play with. They can take their sweet time, especially as the second one goes out. Shield destroyed, as is most of Ozone's HP. Rice is here holding the cross. Looks like someone might be about to expose themselves. I think that's Jewel on the mute. Window being held as well. There's the damage being done to Jewel. Afer, a kill onto Wooz, and this defensive half is rearing its head for Outlast. They are not doing well in the beginning of this round. Now another kill for Gasher as he finds Ozone from below. Afer gets lit up, but not finished off. Tra needs to do his best, especially as Jewel is cornered off towards Geisha, but they'll each find a kill. Jewel now refragged. It falls upon Tra's shoulders once again, the roamer needing to come back to site in a 1 versus 3. Rice has Case. He's tucked into that default plant spot, and Tra cannot land the headshot, at least not yet. LMG on the coverage, and he just exposes his side to Psychosis. Aqualix taking the first round of OT.
That one Aqualix had to work for, definitely a little bit more than last time. They attacked T in karaoke, but it started off with a nice kill from below, and it just kept ramping up from there. Aqualix, just a clinical use of those explosives once again. I mean, they had 4, not the 6 that we've seen them bring in the past, but all 4 used to perfection. They destroyed utility, it got a couple of kills, it lit up Ozone to practically 1 HP, and it freed up Aqualix's ability to start taking control of that T-Hall, right? You worked your way up through that main doorway, you worked your way up from the black stairs, and eventually the site pressure just became too much for Outlast to handle. They each got 1 kill, right? Tra got 1 back, and that was a start, but Tra, even though he has been frag heavy, right? 13 kills right now. Generally, a lot of those kills have been when he is the last man alive, coming back to the site after just staying on a roam for far too long. If Tra wants to have that success on defense, I get that he wants to hunt for those kills. The MX4 Storm on that alibi is a formidable weapon. Let's not kid ourselves, but leaving your team out to dry on the site is not the solution.
I agree. It definitely feels like most of Tra's kills, at least a large percentage of them, have been impactless, whereas it's Wooz really stepping up, getting those impact frags, and bringing his team back in a lot of these rounds. Him and Jewel have both had a lot of impact rounds so far. Outlast are on the attack once again, but it is on to T. They're 1-1 on this site, just as Aqualix previously was until that win. This is a coin toss. It's 50-50. Aqualix, once again, very heavily extended. There's a man all the way in the office. There's also one below. Gasher, who's not the one below. Actually, no, he is. Running away through stock, gets that opening frag, and who is it on, Jonah?
Oh boy.
It's on Wooz. The top frag, the Finka. Blank looks for the refrag, but is only able to tag Gasher up, and the Thorn just sprints on by. Blank cursing the ARX's low ammo count after that one.
Oh boy, Gasher is able to escape. That is huge, because he is now able to not only get that last Razor Bloom in the mix here and get that involved, but he himself can be involved for the remainder of this round. The Uzi on Thorn, I mean, that is a formidable weapon, as Gasher has proven already in this round and in this map as a whole, and he'll be able to use that when this execute from Outlast actually comes around. Looks like a deployable shield has been dealt with from below. Good use of those explosives from both Tra and Blank, who are trying to use those frag grenades again to get both kills and remove some utility. But with a player lost, player like Wooz, the Finka, and that LMG off the board, Outlast are fighting quite an uphill battle. They're also going to have to deal with Afer here, who's doing a little bit of bandit tricking, but nobody's on the other side of that wall, so Afer will likely reposition and just get that MP7 out and start to get involved. As Outlast continue their involvement in this round, the pressure from below, only one more nade remaining, and other than that, it has been largely unsuccessful. So they're going to have to start pushing in and doing this one by just taking those gunfights.
There's Tra with that last nade looking to send it up, but if he nades there, there's going to be no one to find. He'll end up doing so. Lack of intel onto the site. That's what that screams to me. Blank also being lit up earlier from an engagement through the floor, I believe, by Psychosis, if I'm not wrong. And with 35 seconds left, one gas canister goes out. There's one left from Rice. This round is going from bad to worse for Outlast. Their chances are thinning with every second that ticks by. Blank will start to hit the back, crouching through the rotate made in Dragon. We'll have to keep an eye out for him. Up comes Blank, doesn't look over towards T, nearly pays the price for it. It's Psychosis to fall. There's Blank's flank, ringing true. Rice gets another though, as does Nick. 2 versus 4 for Blank and Jewel to try and clean up. Only 5 seconds to do it. Jewel has Case. He'll try getting this bomb down. Blank has got to cover, but there's too many angles to watch. Rice denies it. Aqualix takes the game and sends Outlast down to relegations.
Outlast's hopes dashed when it came so close, but an 8-6 victory, Aqualix on the top, will keep their hopes alive and allow them to progress to stage 2 without fear of relegation. So they'll close things out with a bang. I mean, you see that, well, I'm sure we'll talk about the stats later, but we just saw 2 teams heating up in so many different ways. I think there were 5 total players in the lobby who hit double digits. Everyone clearly showing that they wanted this one and they wanted it badly. But Outlast, despite a pretty significant advantage that they were able to secure early on, when they transitioned to the defense, they just could not find that success on that half as well. And I mean, it feels so backwards, this entire map, right? Outlast attacking well, but defending poorly. And, you know, that's why they ended up here at the bottom of this entire stage.
A lot of these rounds were either super duper dominant or a game of inches. I mean, even look at that last attacking round that Outlast could have taken. If they don't let Gasher 4K there, they likely win that. We might even see a different game. I mean, if Woos didn't get like back-to-back 3Ks, maybe Aqualix start to come back a little more. And Ozone, right? Not to say he did terribly. He didn't do great either of those games, but you got to call into question. If Outlast had Atheno, sure, Atheno has not been performing. He had like maybe one standout map so far the entire season, but is it really worth losing that synergy for someone who might be a quote-unquote just better mechanical player or better support all around? Was it worth losing that chemistry? And judging by the way Ozone was playing a lot of those rounds, a lot of those positions he was taking, I don't know if it was.
Yep. That's something they're going to have to consider, but that is also something that our analyst desk will surely discuss. We'll throw it back to them so they can give us more info about this match.
This is a bit bittersweet, obviously a bit more bitter CJ than sweet, but this is a team in Outlast that, I mean, at least this game did mean something. They won their previous game, but this is a tough loss, especially because they played some of their best Siege today, except in those last few rounds. It just felt like they lost steam.
Yeah, I mean, their attacks were fine. Liked them. Let's talk about the defense, though. Remember how I was talking about how these guys like to run Doc shotgun, Oryx shotgun? They're the most notorious shotgun team in the league. Let's just talk about what went wrong on defense a lot of the time. On their house side defenses, right? We've got Blank. Blank is going for some questionable flanks, right? I think that cost them one of their defenses over there. And then the shotgun play, you're gonna see it, Ozone. I mean, damn. Some of the shot, I think he lost like every shotgun gunfight he could have taken, and that it was painful to watch because Tron Woos played their heart and soul. They left it out on the field today, that they still came up short. And Crow said it, like, I don't know, was it worth? I don't even know what happened to Athena, to be honest. I thought he was gonna play today. I learned about Ozone playing when y'all learned. It would just happen in my face. It just happened
In game.
I don't know. I don't know if that was it. The dude was shaking on the shotguns forced.
I feel bad because, you know, like, there's always going to be that lingering question now. What if Athena was playing? Would they been able to pull it off? And they did say that Ozone was IGLing, and you could see on their attacks look so much cleaner than they have any other point in this stage. So I gotta give them a little bit of credit.
Give him credit there. Yep.
Yeah. But I don't know. It's just like when Afer decided to wake up, it just felt like that was it. There was no more sale or winning the sales of Outlast, especially in the defensive half. Like Cookies, you were mentioning it. They were making mistakes, standing on vertical holes, letting them get bucked out and naded from below for free. There just wasn't a whole lot going for them in terms of like on their defensive side and just keeping their bodies up. Their entry department fell flat. They were giving up tons of free map control, and they looked shaky. They looked really shaky, and what we have seen throughout CL to be a very defender-sided map.
Well, right now we are going to interview Gasher to ask him about this all-important matchup, so I'm sure he's going to have some great answers for us. Gasher, congratulations. This was a very, very important win for you guys. Do you breathe a bit of a sigh of relief after this?
Well, I mean, obviously. I mean, this game is already determined if we were going to be 100% in the next stage or have to play rails. So, I mean, obviously, there's some stress gone, but I mean, it's kind of it.
So moving on to your next match, because you will play one off stream today, will you go in with that one maybe having a bit more fun, or are you still going to fight for all the points that you can get?
I mean, we're going to fight. I mean, like, if you look at, majority of our games, like, even though we did lose pretty much all of them, I mean, it was like, could have very easily gone our way. We just threw 20 rounds. And I mean, like, ER was a 5-7. West Garfield Park, 4-7. There's a lot of games like that where we just kind of threw rounds. So, I mean, obviously I know we can beat Aerial, and they can beat us. It's the reality of B1, it's the reality of Siege. So we're going to go in playing to win.
Now, today it was super important in this matchup that Afer, he was doing all right through the first half, but he really started to heat up in the second half. Was he a big, catapult to your victory today?
I mean, of course, obviously it's a team game. Team had to do well. I mean, obviously in the beginning, my team was struggling, and I had to be the one to carry the weight in the beginning. That's what you do as a leader. When you need to step up, you step up. And once I stepped up, the karaoke round, I got the 4-piece. I think the team realized, like, okay, like, we're here to play. Like, we can't just like Asher carry. And Afer stepped up. Rice had, I think, 2 huge rounds on attack. Yeah. Psycho it was like 1 kill a round, but it was like very important kills to create openings. Nick did his job. You obviously can't tell, but very good drone work. A lot of pings, got us kills. So I mean, I think it was in the beginning we came out like, I think inexperienced, kind of like we haven't replayed a high pressure game before. But then once we kind of realized, oh, it's just a game, we did what we had to do.
Well, congratulations again, and best of luck on your next matchup to get the rest of the points that you can get.
Thank you.
Have a good one, Gasher. So, tough day for Outlast. Big ups and, of course, a big down for this one. But we are just over the halfway point today. We've got 2 more matchups. The next one being ATK now officially rebranded as Wichita Wolves, and they will be taking on One Shot. We'll be back in a few minutes with that.